Hi guys, let's talk about wireless networks. Let's say you have a wireless router at home, like my CAPsMAN, and you would like to extend the wireless coverage to some other rooms. Maybe your garden, maybe your garage, or a further room. And instead of moving the router around like you could, you want to add another router to your home network. MikroTik has a special feature called the CAPsMAN, and it allows the central router to become a controller for other devices. So what it would mean is that you can add other MikroTik devices to this router, and they will all be controlled by the main unit, and all will have the same network name, the same password, and will be easier to manage. And you can add any MikroTik router to your setup. In my case here, I have a CAPac. And in this video, I will show you how to do it yourself. It's actually quite easy. There are ways to do it with a quick set, but I'll just show you step by step so that you know how to do it and how it all works. Okay, so what we will do with the CAPac3, which is our main unit, is first we will turn it into the CAPS manager, and then we will make it manage itself. So it has built-in wireless interfaces, and you want to manage those interfaces as well, not just the other routers. So let's start with that. We will go into the wireless menu, and here you see you have two built-in wireless interfaces. So this is the 2 and 5 gigahertz interfaces. Now go into the CAPsMAN menu. Here, all you need to do is click on the manager button and enable the manager. And this is all you need to do. Click OK. And now the CAPsMAN server is running. And now, if you go into the wireless menu here and click on the CAP button, this will make the router work as a controlled access point. So it will no longer control its settings directly, but it will do this through the CAPsMAN. So CAPsMAN will send all the settings to these interfaces. So let's enable the CAP mode. And here we have pre-selected already the interfaces wireless 1 and wireless 2. And here you need to specify the address of your CAPsMAN server. And in my case, I want to manage the devices, the built-in interfaces, right here inside the same unit. So I don't have the server somewhere else. It's the same device. So in my case, it's the local host address. And as you know, local host is 127.0.0.1. So enter this CAPsMAN as the CAPsMAN address. So it will be looking for the CAPsMAN server right here in the same device. So let's click OK. And now you see these interfaces are managed by CAPsMAN. So you cannot edit any settings. It will not allow to change anything. Everything will be done by the CAPsMAN. And in the CAPsMAN window here, we basically don't need this anymore. The wireless window can be closed. So everything now happens here. So let me just quickly tell you what these tabs do, but we don't have to configure all of the settings. There are just a few things that are required so that it all works. But of course, you can always, just like with any feature in the MikroTik router, you can always customize everything and do all kinds of crazy setups. But in our case, I just want to show you the bare minimum so to get the CAPsMAN setup working. So in this first tab, the CAP interfaces will be shown, but there's nothing here because we're not controlling anything yet. Because first we need to go and set up a configuration template. Everything in CAPsMAN is done with templates. So add a new template. You can give it a name or something. And now you'll see all kinds of wireless settings. Now, the CAPsMAN will do everything automatically if you don't set anything. So you're not required to actually set all these settings here. But what we do need is to set the mode as an access point, provide this SSID. SSID is the network name. So let's just call it home or something. So this will be, the network name will be home. And all of these other settings are optional, but I recommend setting the country, because this will make sure that your device is following the regulations of your country. You can set the installation to indoor if it's an indoor router, and the distance can be also indoors. So these settings are just recommended so that all the output powers are set according to the country regulations. Other things we can leave here, but in the channel you could specify a specific frequency if you want. But in my case, I just will leave it alone and it will just select some kind of frequency automatically. Side note, if you want to set up two networks, one for 2 GHz and one for 5 GHz, you will have to make a separate template for each of them, because each frequency has different kinds of settings. So and if you want to have a separate SSID, the network name is different. For example, I could set up home 2 GHz and home 5 GHz. But I don't care. I want a single name for all my networks. I don't want to think about which access point to use. All my devices will automatically select whatever they want to use. So I'll just leave this alone for sake of simplicity. Then the rates can be left alone and all of these settings. But security we do need. It allows to set the template for security as well, but I don't have a template yet. So I'll just set it directly here in the main template. The main template is the configuration. And here I can specify WPA, encryption, AES, and a passphrase, home password 1. Think of a better password. And this can be directly entered into the main configuration template here in the configurations tab. Everything you enter here will be just taken directly from this template. But if you want to make a really specific setup and you want to create several networks with a different kind of password for each SSID, you can do that. You just need to go into the security, make a new template, specify passwords here, and then you would choose that template here in the security dropdown here. And as you see in the data path and in the rates and channels, everywhere you can select templates. But we have a simple network. We don't need all those other settings. So we will just directly enter them into the configuration and will not be using any other templates. So I have set up an AP. The SSID is home, distance, country, and the security password. That's all I need here. So I just made it, and I will leave all these other tabs alone because my setup is just simple. And once you have set up what configuration you want to give to those access points that you are going to manage, then you need to set up the rules how and where to send this information. So this is called provisioning. In provisioning, add a new provisioning rule. Here you could specify which routers need to get which configuration. For example, maybe some specific MAC addresses you want to give them this configuration and some configuration to others. You can do that, but we're going to leave this all alone. It's very simple actually. So what you need to do is set that this provisioning rule will create dynamic and enabled interfaces. And it's going to use the configuration you just created called CFG1. I didn't give it a name, but you can give it something understandable. And here you can specify, for example, if you have a lot of routers, then you can give them some kind of format how their names are going to be created. So, for example, prefix identity. And it will create the CAP interfaces, and each of them will have the name the same as their actual hardware router has in its identity settings. I will just leave this alone. So click OK. Now go into the radio tab. Here you have devices that are already connected to the CAPsMAN, and we can click provision on these devices. So the rules are now being sent to these two devices. And then if you go into the CAP tab, here, it's created two two access points. One is for the 2 GHz, one is for the 5 GHz. So it's as easy as that. And now the built-in interfaces that are in the wireless tab here, both of them have received the settings that you entered. So in our case, it's simply SSID home and the password that I set. Everything else is automatic. The frequency is automatic. You don't have to worry about any of those things. So it's very simple. And now what we need to do, we want to add the actual other device that we have purchased. So in my case, it's the CAPac here. So it can be any MikroTik router, like I said, and you don't actually have to configure it. That's the best part. You take it out of the box and you take a Ethernet cable, and well, in my case, the power will be coming from the CAPac because the port number 5 is giving out power over Ethernet. But of course, in your case, you could be powering it with a power jack if your device has a power jack. So in my case, it will take the power from the main access point. So I only need one cable. So it can be a very long cable. You can pull the cable to your garage and mount the device there. And then it can be without any configuration at all, or it can be straight out from the box. It doesn't matter what configuration it has. I recommend doing a system reset, but in any case. So what you need to do now is find the reset button on the device. So the reset button allows you to do several things, not just reset and reinstall. It also has a function to start the CAP device, or to start this device in CAP mode. So CAP mode is the controlled access point mode. What will happen is that I will hold the button and I will look at the LED light. The LED light here will indicate what's going on. So I need to look at the LED light, and first it will start flashing. That means it's asking you if you want to reset the unit. Then it will turn solid. That means if I release the button at that moment, it will boot into the CAP mode. That's what we need. And if I leave it longer, when the light goes out, it will start in the net install mode for reinstallation. We don't need that. So what I need to do is I need to plug it into the first Ethernet port here, Ether 1. Then I need to hold the reset button, and then I need to plug it into my main router in any port. In my case, I'm going to use the PoE port because I need the power from here. So let me just hold the button and hold the button and plug it in. And now the device is booting, and I'm looking at the user LED here. So you will not see it. Just trust me. So now it's blinking. Now it stopped blinking. I'm releasing the button. And this is going to make the device start looking for CAPsMAN servers. And all I need to do now is wait. There it is. It simply appeared here in the list. So first, in the remote CAP tab, first one is this device. Like I told you before, the CAPac3 is controlling its own internal interfaces. So it's sending the configuration to those interfaces and telling them, okay, now you must use the SSID home and the password. And then it's also waiting and listening for any other controlled access points that want to join in. And so our CAPac unit just appeared here in the list, and all it took is taking the unit out of the box and booting it with holding the button. So what you need to do now is take any number of any kind of MikroTik access point devices. It can be WAPs, other HAPs, any kind of wireless device that MikroTik is making, and all you need to do is boot them by holding the reset button and release the button when it turns solid. So solid green in my case here. And that's all. It will just simply appear in the list here, and it's already being provisioned with the configuration. And here in the CAP interfaces, you can see I already have 4 access points running the same configuration. Now I could take another one, and I can even when I run out of ports, I can attach a switch to one of the LAN ports, and I can boot 10 of them or more, and all of them will be just running the same configuration. And that's all you need to do. And if you want, this is a MikroTik unit, so it means it has tons of different features. And if you want, you can create other provisioning rules. You can set make guest networks. You can assign different types of configurations to different types of routers based on their size. Maybe some of them have bigger antennas, and you want those to have some other settings. Maybe you have outdoor units in your network. Those could have other Wi-Fi settings. Maybe you need different network names. For example, if it's a large area, maybe you want a guest network that has no password, and the other units maybe need a password. So all of these things you can do using these templates. So like I said before, provisioning tells which configuration to send to which units. Configuration tab is your main template that contains either directly entered configuration, or it will take the templates that you select here. So channels, rates, datapath, security, those can be configured in these other tabs. But in my case, I just didn't use the templates. I directly entered them into the main configuration template. And here in the remote cap tab, I see all the physical devices that have joined in this CAPsMAN setup. So here we have my built-in interfaces, and the cap is here. And you can see the version they're running, and you can even make them upgrade themselves if needed. So that's another thing you can do. And each of these devices have 2 built-in radios, 2 GHz, 5 GHz, so total of 4. This is why we have 4 cap interfaces. And in the registration table, you will see all the devices that have connected to your CAPsMAN. So if you have phones and laptops and TVs and all your devices, they will only see a single network name. In my case, I set it up as home, and they will just, when you go into the Wi-Fi settings, you will see home. And you will not have to care which device is located where you need to connect now, who has the strongest signal. It will no longer matter. Everything is managed centrally. The registration table is single for all of your devices. And then you will see which device has joined to which access point, and you'll be able to manage them here. But from the user perspective, it's going to be a single network, and they don't even know where they're connected. They don't care. They don't have to care. So it's becoming very easy for them, and easy for you. So you don't have to configure each access point separately anymore. So they just have to be booted into CAPS mode, and that's it. So all you need to do is create the configuration file here, set one provisioning rule, and that's it. So I hope you find this tutorial useful, and good luck in building your first CAPsMAN network.